who yesterday came out and said, my red line is campaigning with garbage like Hasan Piker. I'm going to have to quit the Democratic Party. And here he is doubling down with Maria Bartiromo once again.
If that becomes official, even Jewish kinds of organizations like J Street are doing events with people like Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker. I mean, how can you embrace people like that? That Hamas is 1,000% better than Israel. You know, if we became the kind of party that would embrace someone like Hasan Piker, you know, maybe my party doesn't want like a reasonable, common sense kind of Democrat that reminds people that standing with Israel, that at least used to be part of our core values, and one of the reasons why I've been proud to be a Democrat.
That's right, Senator.
Yeah, he's just saying straight up. He's entertaining leaving the Democratic Party, which he already left spiritually a long time ago. Let's be real. But now he's looking for an out, and I guess he's decided the out is me. Now, the real question here is, if you were to ask the average Democrat, is John Fetterman closer to your understanding of what the Democratic Party should represent, or is it someone like myself? I suspect that if you look at the trend lines on Israel, most Democrats would obviously be on my side of the argument rather than John Fetterman's. So that's it. John Fetterman doubles down on his threat to leave the Democratic Party because of Hasan Piker. Yeah. John Fetterman has a minus 40% approval rating among Democrats in Pennsylvania. Now, what's really interesting about this, by the way, what's really interesting about what John Fetterman is saying is that John Fetterman is the least popular Democrat in the country. He's a Dino, Democrat in name only. Okay? And what I find particularly strange about this is what he's saying there is not dissimilar to what you hear from Neera Tanden, what you hear from Shannon Watts, what you hear from a lot of these establishment Democrat-aligned spokespeople for the center of power in the party. It is identical, almost verbatim, bar for bar. And that's what's so strange about this, where those people would never openly entertain John Fetterman as a good force in the Democratic Party. They don't come after AOC as hard and as vociferously as well because they're worried that AOC is objectively a popular figure in the party. But they share that same exact resentment. They share the same exact resentment that John Fetterman has. They hate it. And yeah, it's interesting. It's funny that Paul Singer, Jan Koum, and Neera Tanden are the three most prominent supporters of Haley Stevens. Singer and Koum are outspoken supporters of Trump, while Tanden publicly claims to be against Trump, but actively spends all of her time fighting other Democrats and teaming up with Trump mega donors to do it. Democrats won't have a coherent party as long as a huge chunk of it is funded by Republicans. I brought this up as well because Eli Clifton reported on this, senior advisor at Quincy Institute. He had a report on this. He said two of Trump and GOP's biggest donors, Paul Singer and Jan Koum, are the largest individual donors to the super PAC backing Haley Stevens over Abdul El-Sayed in the Democratic Senate primary in Michigan. Why is this important? Well, it's important because I brought this point up as well. Why are two major MAGA donors backing Stevens, and what is the guarantee they continue funding her against Mike Rogers and the general? Can she perform at all without AIPAC money? Why is mainstream media too busy talking about Abdul's podcast appearances instead of this in the electability calculus? I know the answers to these questions, but, you know, still interesting to see mainstream Democrats hit these fucking lines. Last but not least, Jeremy Ben-Ami had a take on this as well, and then we'll get to the Marco Rubio situation. But here is more synchronicity on the pro-Israel camp. John Yoo attacking UC Berkeley law professor, famous pro-torture professor, shitting on Zohran Mamdani.
After the 9/11 attacks, the Bush administration, and I was an official of the Justice Department, we participated with Congress to pass a law that prohibits any official in the United States from cooperating with the ICC. So what Mayor Mondami is calling on is for the officials of New York City, including himself, to violate federal law. So in the end, it's not Netanyahu who should be arrested and investigated. I'm not trying to exaggerate here. The mayor is violating the American Servicemen Protections Act passed in 2002, and the Justice Department should be investigating him. And the president, under that law, is authorized to use all necessary means to prevent any American or ally from being handed over to that court. So if Mayor Mondami wants to spend a lot of time dealing with FBI agents and the Justice Department investigators, well, he just launched that whole process for himself and the residents of New York City.
But he's a savvy guy, right? You don't get elected mayor of the biggest city in the world if you're a dummy. So what is this? It's just some kind of a political catcall for him?
Yeah, I don't know if I can add more than what you've heard from other political analysts and guests who've said that Mayor Mondami is appealing to this large, sort of socialist-friendly base of young people in New York City who are becoming increasingly, I'm afraid, anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. But the question is he acting consistent with the law of the United States? And he is not, and he should be investigated by the Justice Department, by the Trump administration because of that.
That's crazy. This guy's pivotal achievement is literally sanctioning torture, by the way. Like, in a just world, he would be going to prison, ironically enough. But, of course, we do not live in a just world. His biggest accomplishment, John Hughes' biggest accomplishment as a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, is sanctioning torture during the war, the global war on terror. Isn't that wild? Yeah, he wrote the torture memo, famously.
After the
Man who deserves to be on trial at The Hague, it's illegal to actually send criminals to The Hague. Yeah, of course he would say that. He's a fucking straight up war criminal. So yeah, this morning I had some unfortunate news. Let's start there. Wait, hold on. Sorry. Actually, before I get to the torture, I just got through the torture thing. Before I get to the State Department issue, there was one other thing I wanted to cover. To wrap up the college Democrats thing, here's Jeremy Ben-Ami, who's been getting yelled at quite a bit because J Street U, which is the university version of J Street, co-sponsored the College Democrats of America convention. And then Jewish Insider went to Jeremy Ben-Ami and were like, why the fuck did you sponsor this? Hasan is a terrorist, blah, blah, blah. He's an anti-Israel terrorist, all this stuff, right? And then I guess Jeremy Ben-Ami had a opinion on this. He wanted to release an effort post on this. It says, since it was announced that Hasan Piker would be speaking, some have sought to portray our participation as an endorsement of his views. That is simply false. J Street disagrees with much of what Hasan Piker says and with the way he says it. We won't hesitate to say so. But we also reject the notion that the right answer to his invitation is to abandon the very spaces where the next generation of Democratic leaders is debating these issues. Our mission is not to preach to the converted. It is to ensure that a pro-Israel, pro-peace voice is heard wherever the future of American politics is being shaped. If we leave those conversations to others, we shouldn't be surprised when the loudest and most polarizing voices dominate them. Let's also dispense with the misinformation. J Street U was one of the many conference sponsors. Our sponsorship amounted to a couple $1,000s for an exhibit table. We had no role in choosing speakers, no approval over the program, and no say in who was invited to address the conference. Suggesting otherwise is either uninformed or intentionally misleading. Some of our critics don't object to this particular conference. They object to J Street. They've spent years trying to convince people that there is no room in American Jewish life or democratic politics for a pro-Israel movement that also insists on Palestinian rights, opposes the occupation, and believes diplomacy is stronger than perpetual war. They won't succeed. Too many people want young Americans to believe there are only two choices: defend every action of the Israeli government or reject Israel altogether. That is a false choice, and it is one J Street was founded to reject. We will continue to show up. We will continue to engage. We will continue making the case for a future in which Israelis and Palestinians can both live in freedom, security, and peace, and we won't be intimidated into surrendering that conversation to voices we disagree with or to critics who would rather see us stay home. Search fucking bullshit. There's no fucking thing as being pro-Israel, pro-peace. Yeah, I obviously have vehement disagreements with J Street, and they have disagreements with me, right? But at the very least, they understand the importance of not demanding deplatforming for someone with my worldview, with my policies, with my opinion on Israel, because they understand that the argument is lost for the most part due to AIPAC, due to the AIPAC style of understanding of Israel, where it's all or nothing. Okay? J Street is the good cop to AIPAC's bad cop. That's that, but they at least like play that role well, because obviously if everyone who's pro-Israel came across like AIPAC, then it favors my position a lot more. That it's, being pro-Israel, being a Zionist, undermines the argument of Palestinian emancipation. It's antagonistic to Palestinian emancipation because Zionism is an ethno-religious supremacist ideology. Now, of course, we will have this conversation eventually. I think I have an opportunity to potentially talk to Jeremy Ben-Ami, which, I would love to do. He has an open invite to have honest discourse on this broadcast where we can put out our opinions and we can have a reasonable conversation about whether or not being pro-Israel is antithetical to being pro-Palestine or not, and why we should care about the demographic concerns of the Zionist state as people who believe in, humanitarian values. But that's for a different day. He doesn't seem reasonable in the tweet. I think he's more reasonable than AIPAC is my point. All right. Hasn't Jeremy Ben-Ami taken issue with you historically? Yes, of course, because I also rail against liberal Zionism as well. And Jeremy Ben-Ami is a liberal Zionist. So, of course, he has a major issue with me. Dude, people who even self-identify as like being prominent critics of Zionism, Peter Beinart has taken issue with my criticisms of liberal Zionism. And I like Peter Beinart, We've had this conversation. There are certain positions that I take that liberal Zionists find unfathomable and outright anti-Semitic, but at least they won't say that it's like considered anti-Semitic because they know a little bit better than to do that. Like the comparison between Nazism and Zionism, that is a big no-no for a lot of people who are, critics of Israel. Specifically Jewish critics of Israel. Because I think, the Holocaust has understandably played a profound role in the development of modern Judaism, and also plays a formative role in Zionism as well, because it's such a historically important atrocity that impacted the entire Jewish world. So that is the reason why Nazi comparisons come across as very, very difficult to swallow for many people who would be critical of Israel to a degree far beyond J Street, like Peter Beinart. But there's a difference between having robust debate on this issue rather than simply saying, nope, you're anti-Semitic, fuck you, you're Nick Fuentes, you should not have a platform. There is a difference. Okay. And J Street does not entertain that level. J Street does not do that. Many other Zionists do that, where they'll cynically claim that I am an anti-Semitic person, and not one that has combated anti-Semitism, but also has a significant difference in opinion, who's not precious about making this comparison, because it's important. It's in the spirit of understanding. It's in the spirit of Holocaust scholarship to make that comparison. That's the purpose of Holocaust scholarship. That's what I believe, right? You don't have to cozy up to them because they defended you once. There is no, it's very strange that people look at this as cozying up. I'm explaining to you that there are varying degrees. There's different ways of looking at it. They're not even defending me. They're simply defending the principle of funding an event. Peter Beinart is not J Street, to my knowledge. Anyway, that was one other point that I wanted to make, but I think we're buttoning up the College Democrats of America saga until Republicans fucking keep hammering that point over and over again today, as they, I assume, will continue doing. And we're moving on to the strange. No, stop! I don't care about the JNS article, chatter. Please stop spamming it. I don't want to read the 750,000th fucking article about, like, oh, as a Jewish person, I was really scared that Hasan Piker spoke at the College Democrats of America, okay? For the last 3 years of Israel's genocide, that's all we've written. That's all we've read here on the broadcast. Okay, please. I don't know why you want to fucking pull me back into that. We're done with that, okay? We're moving on.